Every country in the world has its share of urban legends, terrifying ghost stories, and hauntings. The United States is no different. Now let us sit back and hear 3 different tales of our next 3 states. Admitted into the United States in 1816 as the 17th state to join the Union, Indiana is the 38th largest state and the 18th most populated. Home to vast farmlands, the University of Notre Dame, the Indy 500, and also home to many an urban legend, especially those of the ghostly variety. One of which is the famous case of the Fox Hollow Farm. Once the home of notorious serial killer Herbert Baumeister, the Fox Hollow Farm is said to be haunted by the very victims whose lives were taken on the property. Baumeister was confirmed to have killed 11 victims, but is still suspected in 23 other murders. Many of the victims' charred remains were found unburied in multiple places on the property in the 1990s, and before Baumeister could be brought to justice, he had taken his own life. In 2009, Rob and Vicky Graves purchased the property, believing they had found their dream home, and then discovered over time they had gotten far more than they had bargained for. They began to have experiences such as electric cords being yanked from the walls by an invisible force, or seeing a legless man in the woods around the property, or even wandering in the house. A co-worker living there with the family had experienced dreams of being chased by something evil in the woods. When awakened, he was so confused and felt an urgent need to run away and get out. He tripped and injured himself. He would also go on to have times where someone would start knocking at his door, with no one there when he answered. A friend of the co-worker had experienced a strange feeling of an invisible force trying to hold them underwater in the pool, like an attempt to drown him. Multiple paranormal investigations have helped to determine that the home was not only haunted by the victims, but possibly Baumeister himself. Today, there has been re-examinations of the case due to bones and bone fragments continuing to pop up around the woods on the property. The place has been featured in multiple media, including books, film, and once featured in an episode of Ghost Adventures. Whether or not the lost souls of Baumeister and his victims are still taking residence on the farm is unknown. But one thing is for certain: the case of Herbert Baumeister is still yet to be fully closed, after all these years later. Sitting between the Missouri and Mississippi rivers and known for its rolling plains and cornfields, Iowa is a relatively quiet state, home to both legends and hauntings, one of which is a road in Burlington known as Stony Hollow Road. It's a quiet back road that tends to have very light traffic through farmland. Nothing too unusual, however. It's what occurs at night and the road's history that sets it apart from all the other quiet farm roads. Many years before automobiles were invented, a woman named Lucinda waited at this road for her fiancé to show. It was a secret engagement, and sadly, the man never showed. It was theorized that either he had left her for another woman, or may had just gotten held up on the road with his buggy and horse, getting possibly stuck in the mud. Regardless of why he never showed, Lucinda was left distraught and upset to the point she leapt herself off the cliffs and met her end. Now her spirit is said to still be there awaiting her fiancé. It is believed that if you visit the cliff she leapt off at night and call her name 3 times, she will appear and visit you. If she drops you a rose by your feet, it is an omen that the end for you is coming the next day. If you're feeling brave and looking to have a run-in with the supernatural, perhaps come pay Lucinda a visit. Who knows, she may leave you a rose. Right in the middle of the Midwest of the United States, bordering Nebraska, Missouri, Colorado, and Oklahoma, Kansas was admitted into the Union in 1861. It's home to many agricultural settlements and possibly the gateway to hell in Stoll Cemetery, as well as the town of Stoll, which also holds a darkness. The town of Stoll was founded originally by settlers that were escaping religious persecution, and today holds a dark history and is seen to be a cursed location. There was once a large pine tree that stood in the local cemetery that grew through a tombstone, splitting it in half. It is said this tree was the site of where witches were hung. This large tree was eventually cut down to dissuade thrill seekers from the town, even though it was commonly said it was cut down because of it being rotten and a hazard. Rumor is that at midnight on Halloween, the devil himself will appear here at this grave and this old place of this tree, as it was the resting place of a woman for whom he had a child with, which both had been hung from the tree. The town itself also has some interestingly odd history as well, with strange deaths such as a father accidentally burning his son alive, and one man hanging themselves from a tree, both incidents happening on a road known only as the Devil's Road. It no longer exists today, but one can find it listed in far older maps of Stoll. Finally, there is the story behind the most infamous of Stoll's dark history, the old burned-down church. This church was said to have been the site of the occult and other dark religious uses, dating as far back as 1974. There have been reports of people coming across the church and finding animal carcasses and other strange occult paraphernalia, even up until today, before it was bulldozed over. When the leftover 4 walls of the church still stood, it was claimed that when it would rain, the inside of the church would remain dry, even though it lacked a roof. Some claimed that if you were to take 2 glass bottles and hold them in the form of an inverted cross and throw them at the walls, they wouldn't shatter. Perhaps the most infamous thing this church was known for, and is said to still be there, was a sealed secret staircase. The staircase is apparently located on the right-hand side of the church. During the spring equinox and Halloween, the seal for these steps is opened and one can venture down them. Where they led isn't for certain, and there is multiple tales of what they led to, and if anyone has ever returned from them. One belief it is the gateway to hell itself. To venture down the stairs is to never return. Others say it is that going down the stairs is just very dark, and when trying to come back up them, it would feel like an extreme amount of time was passed. But reality is, it was only a few moments. People who have camped near the stairs would hear strange noises from them, and it is highly encouraged to bring plenty of batteries, as they will drain quickly while camping in the area. Also, keep in mind police often patrol the place to keep out the supernatural thrill seekers. Lastly, it is claimed that when people visit the town, or may just be passing through, they would be followed by other vehicles seeking to keep them out. For whatever reason, this is unknown. To this day, paranormal investigators have captured pictures of what could be called ghosts and spirits hanging around, as well as many other phenomena. If you happen to find yourself in Kansas, and you are brave enough to visit, looking for an encounter with the unexplained and supernatural, perhaps Stoll will be a good destination. Do be wary of not only the town's authorities, but also the town's darker, ghostly residents as well.
Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please give a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. Perhaps click the bell for notifications, and remember, hell is empty, and the devils are here.